The temperature is dropping to below zero in western Afghanistan, and Dilaram Ramati is struggling to find food for her 8 children. Since leaving the family home in the country's Bagnes province 4 years ago, the Ramatis have been living in a mud hut with a plastic roof in one of the Herat city's slums. Drought make the village unlivable and the land unworkable. Like an estimated 3 to 5 million Afghans who have been forced to leave their homes, the Ramatis now live in a neighborhood for internally displaced people. There are no jobs, but the 50 years old has a hospital fee to pay for two of her sons, one of whom is paralyzed and the other who has mental illness, as well as medicine for her husband. I was forced to sell two of my daughters, an 8 and 6 year old, she says. Ramantis says she sold her daughters a few months ago for 100,000 Afghani each to families she doesn't know. Her daughters will stay with her until they reach puberty and then be handed over to strangers. It is not uncommon in Afghanistan to arrange the sale of a daughter into a future marriage but raise her at home until it is time for her to leave. However, as the country's economic crisis deepens, families are reporting that they are handing their children over at an increasingly young age because they cannot afford to feed them. Yet, selling her daughter's future was not the only agonizing decisions Ramanti has forced to make. Because of debt and hunger, I was forced to sell my kidney, she tells Rosnasa Media from outside her home in the Herat slum. Afghanistan is on the brink of a humanitarian crisis and economic collapse, according to the UN. The agency's ambassador to Afghanistan has said it is experiencing the world's worst humanitarian crisis on its contemporary history. Drought, COVID-19, and the economic sanctions imposed after the Taliban seized power in August 2021 have had catastrophic consequences on the economy. Dramatic rises in inflation have resulted in soaring food prices. The kidney trade had been growing in Afghanistan but for some time, since the Taliban took over, the price and conditions under which the illegal organ trade takes place has changed. The price of a kidney, which once ranged from $3,500 to $4,000, has dropped to less than $1,500, but the number of volunteers keeps rising. More than half of the country's estimated 14 million population face extreme levels of hunger, and nearly 9 million of them are at risk of famine, according to the UN Refugee Agency. For a growing number of Afghans, selling a kidney is the only way to get money to eat. It has been months since we last ate rice. We hardly find bread and tea. 3 nights a week we can't afford to eat dinner, says Saladuddin Tahiri, who lives in the same slum as the Ramati family. Tahiri, the 80 and 27-year-old father of 4, who scrapes together enough money for 5 loaves of bread each day by collecting and selling recycled rubbish, is looking for a buyer for his kidney. I have been asking private hospitals in Herat for many days if they had any kidney. I even told them if they need it urgently, I can sell it below the market price, but I haven't heard back. Tahiri says, I need to feed my children. I have no other choices. In the past 5 years, about 250 official kidney transplants have taken place in the hospitals in Herat province, with a very limited number being a family member donation their organs, said Asif Kaber, a public health official in the province. The cost of kidney transplant is 400,000 Afghani plus the price of a kidney, according to Kabir. But the true number of kidney operations may be higher. A doctor working in one of the hospitals where most of the transplants take place, who spoke on the conditions of anonymity, says, recently the number of people who want to sell the kidney has increased in Herat, and most of them live in the displaced camp in Herat's slums. The customers also go to the displaced camp to find a cheap kidney, said Asraf Sadat, a civil society activist in Herat, was a member of a delegation assigned by President Afraz Ghani to investigate the illegal kidney trade in May 2020. We found that the hospitals were not working according to the law. People are working inside and outside the country to encourage them to sell the kidneys. These people get them visas and send them to the other side of the border. There are more demand for kidney transplants outside Afghanistan. Countries like Iran need kidneys, and poor Afghans are forced to sell them. Sadat says the investigations he was part of identified two hospitals in Herat where kidney transplants operations take place. One of them said it has completed 194 operations, and the other said 32. But more than 500 people were claiming to have sold the kidney, 100 from a single village in Herat. This shows the kidneys were taken outside Afghanistan, says Sadat. For example, a kidney is purchased for 300,000 Afghani inside Afghanistan, and it is sold for more than 7,900 euro to 11 euro outside the country, says Sadat. We found evidence that some are encouraged to sell the kidneys taken outside the borders, and the kidneys are sold for 200,000 or 400,000 Afghanis, says Sadat. It seems that the doctors are involved in the illegal trade, but unfortunately, our investigation was stopped due to a worsening security situation. 2 months have passed since Ramati's kidney operations, and the countries had already gone to pay off medical debt. Her recovery from the operations continues to go badly. I am so sick. I couldn't even walk because the ground has been infected. It is very painful, she says, adding that the recipient of her kidney only paid for the operation fee, 2 nights in the hospital, and her first medicine bill. On the day of transplant, Ramati was sick and the doctor refused to operate. I couldn't breathe properly, so the doctor took me down from the hospital bed, but I refused. I told them, I am happy with my own death, but I can't tolerate seeing my children hungry and ill, she says.